Hello, beautiful magnetic wives, and welcome to today's video. My name is Laura Amador if you're new, and I'm a Laura Doyle certified relationship coach and intimacy skills expert. And today I want to talk about the mistakes that I see smart, loving wives make again and again, and what to do instead to finally get the closeness you crave. I want to preface this by saying that the mistakes I'm going to cover today are not just mistakes that I see from women who reach out to me or from clients. These are mistakes that I've committed in my own life time and time again. These are ones where I had blind spots, and when I finally had a breakthrough in and stopped committing these mistakes, they made a huge difference in how I felt and, of course, in the connection in my relationship as well. So if you're like so many of the smart and loving women that I work with and speak to, then you've already tried, right? You've been trying in your relationship. You've read the books, you've listened to the podcasts, maybe even dabbled in new communication strategies. So you're not lazy, you're not checked out, you're not just sitting around waiting for a random miracle to happen. You care really deeply about your marriage. You want peace, connection, laughter, passion. You want to feel like roommates again. No, you don't want to feel like roommates. You want to feel like teammates and not roommates, right? But here's the heartbreaking trap that I see, even in the most thoughtful and motivated wives. They accidentally give away their power in the relationship. And it usually happens in one of these two ways. The first way is that, and this is the most common, particularly in women who either don't know the intimacy skills yet or who have just learned them. They overmanage, right? They're nagging, micromanaging, pushing, helping a lot, stepping in, taking over, trying to make things change, all while secretly aching for him to just get it, right? And to change and to be a better husband. Or this is the second one that I also see that I accidentally did. I really leaned hard into this one, and it did not serve me. They go quiet, swallowing their needs, trying not to be too much, hoping that if they don't rock the boat, things will eventually get better. So these are two totally different approaches with the same outcome: less connection, less passion, and this slow drip of resentment that's hard to stop once it starts. But here's the truth that no one tells you: you do not get intimacy by controlling, and you do not get intimacy by disappearing. Real intimacy only grows when you know how to express your desires without fear and without control. And you invite your husband into that space with you. So it sounds like a subtle shift, but it's the difference between feeling unseen in your relationship and finally experiencing the closeness and passion that you've been craving. Smart, capable women like you understand that controlling your husband doesn't work. And here's the thing about that: I logically understood that, you know, being controlling and overbearing and nagging and critical was going to push my husband away, right? Logically, I knew that. But in the day-to-day grind, I I don't know, I lost sight of that. I wasn't practicing that. I wasn't embodying it. And it's really hard to shift patterns, ways of being, habits, ways of speaking, right? Even no matter how much you might have it present in your mind that it doesn't work, right? So maybe you've read the books, you know the theory, but I want to go into the marriage mistakes I see so many wives make. And this is if you're using the intimacy skills or if you're just trying to figure out how to have a better marriage. Either way, it's via trying to change him instead of trying to transform the marriage itself, which are two very, very different things. On the surface, it might look like you're doing all the right things, and I'll get into more of that in a second, but underneath, the energy is still, if I say this the right way or at the right time, maybe he'll finally respond differently. And then when he doesn't, you feel even more frustrated, unseen, and hopeless. And I see this play out in three very frustrating and super, super common ways. So the first mistake is performing instead of being authentic. So again, you're doing everything right. You're smiling when he walks through the door and nodding along, trying to be present and provide emotional safety, right? You're staying calm and polite and agreeable, even when inside you're quietly fuming that he's not showing up the way you need or reciprocating. It feels like you're walking on eggshells, tiptoeing around his mood, softening your words, and constantly managing his reactions instead of saying what you really desire or honoring yourself in any way. And here's the painful truth: the harder you try to perform, the more invisible and exhausted you become. And he feels the pressure, even if you don't say a word that sounds like pressure. Instead of drawing closer, he instinctively pulls away. And meanwhile, your needs stay unmet, your voice stays muted, and the connection that you craved just even further out of reach. Intimacy does not come from perfect behavior or walking on eggshells to keep the peace. It comes from showing up as your best and real self. So here's mistake number two that I see all the time. And again, I have been guilty of, and that is scorekeeping with a smile. So you go out of your way to be the good wife, right? You're expressing loads of gratitude, giving him space to make his own decisions without being criticized, staying on your own paper. But underneath, there's this quiet calculation that if I do this, maybe he'll finally notice me. Maybe he'll finally show up the way I need. So you're not just showing up as your best self, just for the sake of it, right? You're expecting he'll change, hoping he'll respond differently, hoping your efforts will finally earn the closeness that you crave. And all of that is valid, by the way, and worthy. It's just that when we focus on that, it just totally throws everything off balance. And so when he doesn't change on your timeline, right, resentment builds. And I'm saying you, but really I'm saying me. This is all conversations I'm having with my prior self. So then slowly, subtly, like water leaking from a faucet, that resentment just drips and drips and builds and builds. And this is when it can slip into scorekeeping, right? Silently tallying your efforts and comparing them to his and keeping track of who's doing more in the relationship. And then every unacknowledged effort feels like a small betrayal, and every missed moment of connection chips away at your peace and closeness. And then the result is that you're working so hard on your marriage, but he's pulling away. You're trying to connect, but intimacy slips further out of reach. So, real connection is not about tallying points or earning his love. It's about giving freely from a place of inner alignment, not silent frustration. Loving freely from a place of true joy, by the way, is insanely magnetic. Mistake number three is relinquishing your voice along with control. So, maybe you're familiar with the practice of relinquishing inappropriate control, right? And maybe you're not. And again, that might go back to just logically, you do hear that there's some truth in the fact that um, telling someone what to do all the time might push them away, right? So you realize that nagging and criticizing and pushing only makes them shut down or pull away, right? So here is where you might have swung the pendulum really hard in the other direction. And again, this is something that I did myself. So then instead of you relinquish control so hard that then instead of speaking up about your desires, you start saying nothing at all. And at first, it might feel like progress because you might tell yourself, I'm being chill, right? I'm being so laid back. I'm so surrendered. I'm so goddess of fun and light. I'm not making it worse, right? This is me letting go. Um, or wow, things are so peaceful, right? All of which is great. But here's the problem: silence is not the same as intimacy. So when you bite your tongue again and again and again, be careful that you're not just holding back your complaints and criticisms. Beware that you're not also holding back your heart. And again, I say this Speaking to my prior self, because that's what I did. It's a good thing to hold back complaints and criticisms because that's disrespectful and awful, right? But it's not a good thing to hold back your heart. And without your voice, there's no real you in the relationship anymore. And so on the outside, it looks like you're being laid back, goddess of fun and light, right? But on the inside, resentment might start simmering because your needs, it's not like they just disappear, they're just going underground and being ignored, right? And here's the kicker: walking on eggshells in order to keep the peace isn't actually letting go of control at all. It's still a form of control, just a different, sneakier form of control, because you're controlling the narrative by pretending you don't have needs at all. And that false version of you, the one who never desires, the one who never has limits or has needs, cannot create true intimacy because intimacy can only grow where there's honesty, vulnerability, and the courage to be fully seen. And this is how smart, loving women often end up feeling invisible in their own marriages, even when they're doing everything right. They confuse not controlling with not mattering, not the same thing. And so here's the truth that can actually change everything. Letting go of control does not mean shrinking, silencing yourself, or becoming less. It means stepping more fully into your authentic and powerful self, the woman who can create closeness without forcing it. When you shift your focus from trying to change him to transforming your marriage, something magical happens. You stop performing or keeping score. You stop controlling, managing, or pushing. And instead, you start showing up as the woman who naturally sparks connection, passion, and partnership without a single exhausting or slightly manipulative move. So this is where a lot of relationship advice out there really misses the point, right? They tell you what to say or how to behave and how to fix him, but the real secret is actually in how you show up and how you feel, right? Because it all starts on the inside and comes out. And the best part is that there's a very clear and practical way to do this. And I will be walking you through every single step. So if you've been longing for intimacy, closeness, and real partnership, this is exactly what you'll need. I'm so excited to share this with you. Uh, there's that third way, right? We talked about the two ways that we give up our power, right? Being controlling or being silent. Opposite strategies, usually totally unintentional, but opposite ways of showing up, but with the same results, right? But it turns out that there's actually a beautiful way to honor your desires and respect your husband's autonomy in a way that really sparks beautiful connection, a way that creates intimacy instead of distance. And so in my free masterclass on September 3rd, it's going to be called Empowered Wife 101, the Fall Reset. I'll show you exactly how you can express your deepest desires in a way that naturally draws them closer without pressure or manipulation. Tap into your feminine power to create irresistible intimacy that feels effortless and authentic, and transform your marriage dynamic so you're both happier and more connected and more passionate every day. So this isn't about memorizing these little tricks and tips to get him to dot dot dot, right, etc. It's really about becoming the woman who naturally creates the marriage that you've been dreaming of from a place of confidence, authenticity, and magnetic energy. So, if you are ready for a fall reset, it's not just kids going back to school. I want to invite you to join me for Empowered Wife 101 because class will be in session very soon. So, enrollment for my free class is officially open. So, be the first to grab your spot. And it's only open for a few days, right? Because we start next week. So, make sure you grab your spot. Again, it's happening on September 3rd. So, come join me. So, if you've been feeling stuck between feeling controlling or invisible, or between being demanding and then settling, then this is for you. I'm going to show you this third truly empowered way that changes everything. And the wives who master this approach don't just get more cooperation from their husbands, they get more appreciation, more affection, and more passion too. Because you deserve a marriage where you feel seen, valued, and deeply connected. And you don't have to choose between either getting your needs met or being the wife that you want to be, right? You can have it all. So I hope you'll join me. I can't wait to see you there. I hope you'll comment below and let me know which of these mistakes resonated most with you. And let me know if you're going to join the class too. I'd love to know who's going to be with me. All right. I can't wait to see you there. Take care, and I'll see you again next time. Bye bye.